So, the video that you have all been waiting for, the gas magazine maintenance guide. Now, I'm going to show you the proper way to do this. Not sinking everything in silicone oil, not putting it in through the top of your gas router or anything like that. If you're at a stage where you need to do a full maintenance on one of your gas magazines, I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, I don't hate silicone oil. As I've said in many previous videos, I used to be an advocate of silicone oil. There are now better methods and better products to use. You can use silicone oil or grease or whatever, how I go through the video with you, in replacement of what I'm going to use. That's fine. Just use it sparingly. You know, you haven't got to douse this thing like we saw in that other video. So this can be applied to all types of gas magazines. Many gas magazines have the same setup as what I'm going to show you today. Things that are going to be different is how to take the thing apart and the look and appearance of some of the, some of the parts and little valves and stuff that are in the magazine. So get familiar with the magazines that you're using, whether it's GBB pistol mags, SMG mags, rifle mags, all that good stuff. Today for the demonstration, I'm going to be using a Tokyo Marui G17 mag. And it's going to be very simple. We're first going to make sure the mag is completely empty of gas. That's done. We're going to start stripping this thing down. So how do we strip this thing down? We need to remove the base plate first. So with this magazine in particular, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a little tool. Sometimes they'll have like a little thing on the follower for the spring that you can pull down. In this case it doesn't, so I'm just going to pull that off and we can remove the base plate of the magazine. Now, predominantly on a lot of pistol magazines, you're going to have either a securing screw and your inlet valve, or you're going to have just your inlet valve and pins, or you're going to have nothing of the sort and you're going to have your inlet valve up here and either a screw or with the VFCs you've got 3 screws on the plates. So what we're going to do, we're going to treat this as this mag has been out in the field, it's got dirty or whatever. How are we going to completely strip this down and maintain the magazine? Now, like I say, take the base plate off. We've got a screw that secures this assembly in the bottom. So I'm going to take a screwdriver. I do have many different sizes here. So this isn't going to be a tutorial on, all the tools, because many people have different things. Just make sure you're using the correct tool for the job and the correct size. So if it's an Allen key screw at the bottom here, make sure you've got the correct Allen key to take that screw out. And of course, make sure you get, half decent quality tools. Most tools you can get like hardware stores, or if you're in the UK, like B&Q, Screwfix, anything like that, are going to do the job pretty much fine. There are some specialty tools, like the valve tool that I'll be using, which you can get the ones that come in the little 3-star pattern. You can get these Allen drive ones. I recommend getting these ones. These are AIP ones. I've had these for years. They've seen loads of use and they're still pretty much like new. So I've unscrewed the screw off the bottom of the base plate, and this is just the process of taking this thing apart. So we're going to split out the components here on the bench. So we've got the screw, we've got the little plug at the bottom there, whatever you want to call that, and then we've got the follower, the bottom follower for the feed spring. We've got the feed spring itself. We can pull the follower out as well. Set that to one side. So we've stripped the whole bottom of the magazine. And usually with these feed lips, you'll have a little pin that you need to tap out. So we'll do that. Make sure you're using good quality pin punches. It's always good to note which side. There's normally a serrated edge. Sometimes a serrated features are in the middle of the pin, so it doesn't matter which way you tap it out. As long as you're not damaging it, you should be absolutely fine. So we've tapped that pin out there. This one is going to be the one that doesn't have it. You'll see there's no serrated sections on there, so we can put it in from the left or the right, it doesn't matter at all. Once we've topped that pin out, and the reason why I've done it this way is because if you try and take feed lips off like this and the spring is under tension, the first thing it's going to want to do when lifting your feed lips and your router off, it's going to want to fling out everywhere. Now I can take this out. There's nothing springing out or shooting across the bench or across the room. Nothing to find like that. So once we've got all that apart, we need to take the valve out. So I'm just going to grab my valve tool key. Sometimes You can, with some valves, what you can do is they'll allow you to put like a flathead in far enough. This is actually one of them. So you'd have to use a fairly big flathead. Have I got one here? That one's probably going to be too big. So you'd be able to depress the valve and the screwdriver would slot in. This one's a little bit too small, but if you can do that, that's fine. Just be careful not to damage the valve. I'm just going to grab my valve tool and we'll continue with this video. So the secondary valve tool that I'll be using looks like this. And you can get a third one which has bigger splines on the side here, which is for the older sort of WA, I think it's WAM4 GBB mags. So using this, we can just push it on the back and we can pull the valve out the back. We have completely stripped down the magazine, apart from the inlet valve, which we'll use that valve tool for. And we'll pull this one out. We're just getting everything apart. This is like a deep clean, so you don't generally have to do this. I've had magazines, like with my VFC FNX, I've had those magazines for like, what, 8 years, and I've never touched them. But that being said, you know, if you're just struggling a little with this valve tool, if your magazines have been in the dirt and the grime and such like that, then you're obviously going to want to clean it out. Now, on the bottom of these bases that go inside the magazine, you will have a main seal. These are usually like square shaped like this. The Marui one has like a little step to it, so you know which way to put it in. And you know, if your magazines are leaking from the base like this and you can't seem to solve it, more often than not, if you take these seals off and you just put some grease around here, put this seal over it and then put some grease around it again, you can solve 9 times out of 10 your problems. So what we're going to use to clean this, now there's a couple of things. You want to use something that's lint free. So first thing that many people have is what we here in the UK call kitchen roll, paper towels over in the US. You know, I can wipe stuff down, get any of the grime off. With them being white, you tend to see what you're pulling off as well. So you just want to wipe all your seals, just get any dirt and grime. If they've been through like the undergrowth and stuff, then you're going to see a lot more dirt than what I'm seeing here. This is pretty much a brand new magazine, but we are getting some dirt and debris off, you know, the surfaces here and there. So this is where you'd wipe everything down, check it for damage, anything like that. Now, the one thing that you do not want to do in any case, you never ever want to put any type of lubricant, silicone oil especially, in your feed channel where your BBs go. Your BBs go from your mag, through your feed lips, into your hot rubber and your barrel. And any grease or lubricants or anything like that that sits in this channel is going to get on your BBs, and over time it's going to spread to your hot rubber. You see all these retailers all the time, they'll have a bottle of silicone oil and they'll be like putting it down here like that. It's just not the way to do it. If your magazine's getting stuck, you've probably got dirt or debris in there, or it just needs a good push out with some tissue or something like that. And you can use kitchen roll like that. You can just tear off a square and you can just feed it down this feed tube. And I like to do this more than using, like, you know, those earbuds or what do you call them, Q-tips in the US, because you're not leaving anything behind. So this is how I would normally do it. I just get some kitchen roll or paper towel, and I'm just using a tool just to push it into the channels behind where I can't see. And bear in mind, this is a brand new magazine. Look at the dirt I've got off there. Using white tissue like this really does help you see what you're pulling out. So this is a brand new magazine. It's never been in the field whatsoever. This is the magazine that came with my G18C. You can also at the same time clean your spring. Now, if you don't have paper towels, if you have, this one's obviously fairly dirty because I use it a lot. Microfiber cloths of good quality, they won't leave anything behind, and they're a lot softer, so they won't scratch up your parts or anything like that. You saw them in the video, like putting like alcohol all over, around the outside of the magazine. In extreme cases, if your magazine is so dirty that you need to clean the outside of it, the best thing I can recommend for something like this is just wash it out with soapy water. Soapy water, rinse it out. That will just, the soapy water will suspend all the grit and the dirt and the grime in instead of spreading it, and then you can just flush it out with water and just let it air dry. or use a hair dryer or an air compressor or anything like that. That's how I would clean this if it was that bad, but it's not, it's brand new. Now we've done that, what I'm going to do first is we're going to go basically in reverse. So I know I'm touching all these parts here. So we have our outlet valve here. This one is fairly dry. It does actually look like it feels to me in the hand that it's like getting stuck. So with these O-rings, I want the lubricant to, especially this one here, to get behind the O-ring as well. So that's where I would use, these are like the 1 pens that I use. There's many other products that you can use. If you are using silicone oil, just use it very sparingly. Just get a little bit of on a brush, and you'll see I'm just dabbing it around that O-ring there. This has no silicone in it, so we're just going to dab it round. We're going to put it on all the O-rings. We don't need to put it inside the valve. There's no need to do that. There is a seal inside here which sits where the pin for the valve, where you push it. Again, I've never ever in my whole time airsoft, in like what 15 years, ever had to like douse that out with silicone oil. It's just really not needed, because there's such a small channel there for gas to get through to the back of the magazine. The main thing you need to focus about is this front edge here. So you'll see I've put some of the one oil on there. I could have used the grease as well, but with the outlet valves, I tend to like to use something that can get behind the O-rings and just keep them nice and lubricated. There's no me tipping it down anywhere, anything like that. You don't need it. You just lube up the O-rings, pop this back in the magazine, and away we go. That's the outlet valve done. And if they're leaking, you know, you don't have to strip the whole magazine down to do this. You can just pull that one part out to fix the leak. Now with the gas router, this is a brand new gun, so I'm not really going to have to do it. But if you've got any dirt and debris, you just, again, I'd just wash these parts in soapy water and just let them dry. If it's really heavily soiled, if you've dropped it in a muddy puddle or anything like that. We're now going to pop that back on, which is dead simple. Put the router in the feed lips, and we're just going to place it back on. We're going to take our pin that we removed earlier. I'm going to pop that back in the magazine. I did write a whole script for this video telling you why I think you should step away from silicone oil. And then as I came to do it, I was like, you know what? I could give you all the facts. I could tell you that, you know, for nitrile rubbers and everything like that, silicone is fine. Silicone doesn't really like to interact as a lubricant, doesn't like to interact with silicone parts. Some O-rings in the airsoft industry are silicone based. A lot of hot rubbers now are silicone based. If you're running a silicone hot rubber like the Flamingos or a lot of the Maple Leaf stuff, don't use silicone oil. It's not going to do anything good for you. It's incompatible as a lubricant with a silicone seal or part. Like I say, I did write a whole script. Maybe I'll say that in a future video. Right, all these parts are clean now. We're going to put the follower in. Again, this is a brand new magazine, so yours will differ. Just make sure it's as clean as you can get it. And we're going to set that ready to put this part on. So with the bottom seal, if you are using silicone stuff, use grease for this. You don't want to use oil. And what I will do with my 1 pen here, I will just spread a little bit of the grease in that channel because we don't want it to get dry. We're going to take our seal, we're going to push that back over the bottom assembly like that. And then I'm going to take my grease and I'm going to lube this up. You don't have to go ridiculous with it, but this will aid in you reassembling this part as well. That's ready to go in. We'll prep the screw. On these screws you have an O-ring as well. Again, don't use oil. We're going to use a bit of grease. There's many people that would probably suggest using grease on the outlet valve. That's fine. My personal preference with this product, because I know and produce and sell the 1 pens, I know that that's going to be a good application. So we've got that set ready to go. We're going to put our feed spring and compress that in with the follower like so. Like that. We're going to hold it in with a thumb. We're going to take our little base plate here, pop that back into place. We can take our screw, now that O-ring's lubed up, and our screwdriver, and we can screw this up. Now, if you have magazines that have a screw fixture on the bottom like this, you know, Tokyo Marui, WEs, you name it, you don't want to go overboard with screwing this in. Just go enough till it's snug, because what you can actually do is strip the threads in the casing, and then your mag is done for. With the inlet valve, again, this isn't a part that moves, much like the screw. So I'm going to go to the grease, which again, I'm using the oil for the part that's moving, and the grease for the parts that don't move. So if you're using silicone-based stuff, you want to use silicone grease there. And again, apply it very sparingly. You don't have to apply a lot of it. We're just going to screw our valve back in, like so, like that. Once we've got it to this stage, before we put the base plate on, we're just going to take our gas and we're going to put some in. You don't have to put a full load of gas in the mag, and then you're just going to listen. Is anything leaking? Is the bottom of your mag leaking? If it is, you can take your screwdriver and just give it the tiniest of turns, and normally it will go away. Is your outlet valve leaking? If it is, just nip it up and you'll be good to go. Now, with the gas routers, I tend not to put oil on this surface. I will use the 1-pen grease, and literally, I'm not clicking it. I'm just using what's left on the brush. Most of the time, I'll get the majority off the brush, and I'm just getting the lightest of coatings here. Sometimes I'll just use my finger just to rub most of it off. You don't want any build-up on there. You just want it nice and free moving, and keep it away from your follower where your BBs feed into. You could very much do one of these guides for every brand and every type of magazine. But again, I've got magazines that I've had for 8+ years. I've never touched them. Here is an F&X mag. I've never touched it. I think the most I've ever done is just top the gas up. And I don't think these ones actually have ever leaked. I did have an issue with a couple of them where I'd gassed them up and left them in a hot room or something, and they do expand. This is a problem with these magazines, not every type. But that is how you do it. Clean, re-lube. If you're using silicone oils or silicone greases, use it very sparingly. Do not tip anything down here. Don't try and put anything down here. It's going to do absolutely nothing. You know, a lot of you will say, what about the inlet valve? That's a good question. If the inlet valve is leaking. Most times if the inlet valve is leaking, the best way to fix it is just to tap your gas can on it. And a lot of times it will help seal. Now, if you must lubricate the inlet valve, use the tiniest amount of oil just so it seeps in there. So if I was using the 1-pen, I wouldn't even click the brush just to get a bit of the residue off the brush there. It's a tiny amount, because anything that goes in has the ability to come back out. And that is how I do my magazines. Like I say, there's a million ways to do it. I'm just telling you the things that I think you shouldn't do. This isn't an advert for the Jaeger Precision 1-pens, but if you were interested, these are available on the website. They come in 2 variants, grease and oil. They're both the same variant. This one doesn't have any branding on, but it's an old pen. It just makes it super easy. If you don't have these, you know, years as an airsoft tech for many other companies, you know, you've always got like that pot of grease open on your bench with you know, like a small paintbrush in it. That's fine. Just one of the things, and I've done it, is, you know, cap it back off, because those things will attract all the dirt and grime that's in the room, hairs, human hairs, everything that's, you know, that's circulating the room will fall into that grease pot. And what will happen is when you're getting your grease on your little brush, you're putting it straight in your magazine. So I hope I've helped some of you. Any questions, put them down in the comments below, and I'll do a follow-up video if needed. But there is a better way to maintain your gas magazines. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out the links in the description below if you would be so kind. And as always, from me and Bench, we'll see you in the next video.